Hi there and welcome to this edition of Startup Central. I'm Nayantara Rai. This is the only show of its kind on Indian television dedicated, of course, to startups, innovation, technology, disruption, entrepreneurship. Basically, if it falls under the gambit of the new economy, it's here every weekday on your favorite channel at sharp 6 p.m. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take you through the top headlines that we're tracking today. It's time now for Startup Central Fatafat, and we do this in Fatafat style. Here it goes. Reports suggest Byju's is eyeing an acquisition of a startup that could help the biggest e-learning Indian startup deepen its American footprint. Byju's in talks to acquire online reading platform Epic, a startup that offers unlimited access to over 40,000 books, videos and quizzes from more than 250 publishers, all for children aged up to 12 years. Epic, backed by Evolution Media, reaches over 50 million kids in the US. It's game on for Nazara. The Rakesh Jhunjhunwala-backed gaming company makes a blockbuster debut, lists at a handsome 80% premium to the issue price. Google all set to announce a bunch of new features planned for Google Maps that includes a new tool to help with indoor navigation and suggestions for eco-friendly driving routes. One of the biggest announcements is to bring in its live view augmented reality directions to airports, transit stations and malls. More places will be covered with this live AR feature. PayPal has allowed its US customers to pay for services with Bitcoins. They have rolled out the checkout with crypto feature from today. After rolling out the ability for the US users, PayPal's new checkout with crypto will allow users to instantly convert their Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin or Bitcoin Cash to US dollars that PayPal then uses to complete the transaction. Sony is officially closing its PlayStation Store for the PlayStation 3 on July 2nd and the PS Vita devices on August 27th. That means you'll no longer be able to purchase digital copies of games or DLC for the PS3 and the Vita. You'll still be able to download and play previously purchased games, videos and media content. MobiKwik under the scanner after a security researcher claimed data of 3.5 million users was put up on sale on the dark web. Several users reportedly spotted their personal details on the dark web that's being circulated. MobiKwik CEO Bipinpreet Singh says wallet service providers is investigating this and it is always careful about its own information, hopes third-party information has not been leaked by another application. We've got a real special masterclass for all of you ladies and gentlemen, young founders, employees, parents of children that want to join startups tuning in. We're focusing today on ESOPs. ESOPs are the currency on Startup Street. It's how founders get good talent to not just join the startup but to also stay. Employees literally have skin in the game. With ESOPs, these are shares of the startup. I'm going to be discussing this and more with our guests today, who are joining us live on this edition of Startup Central. We're being joined by co-founder and CPO of LetsVenture, that's Sanjay Jha. We'll also be joined by co-founder of Urban Company, Varun Khaitan. Sanjay, you're with us. Thank you so much. Before I get to the masterclass, I believe LetsVenture and Urban Company have come together, joined hands to come out with an open source of sorts for ESOPs. The idea being The more information you have, the more open source you have, the more transparency you have, and of course, more people then have faith in the entire instrument.
Yes. Is that for me?
Yeah, Sanjay, that's for you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. LetsVenture has built a product called My Startup Equity, and we have partnered with Urban Company to solve that exact same problem you talked about, right? As you know, ESOPs are very important for early stage companies. To allow for employees to take part in the whole journey. It is a high risk, high reward game, the startup journey, and to allow for employees to participate in this journey, you need to share the rewards in form of ESOPs, and eventually, it will turn into shares, right? And but there are a lot of issues with respect to ESOP adoption in young companies, and one of them being availability of this ESOP plan document, which is a legal document which needs to be you need to pay to a legal firm probably 50,000 to a lakh of rupees to get this done. And then also there are these clauses are not very easy to understand for employees as well as founders. So what we have done in partnership with Urban Company is to create a document, ESOP plan document, that is not just free, but it's also very easy for employees and founders to understand, incorporates the best practices that Urban Company has implemented in its own startup. And we have put all this together with all the experience that we have at My Startup Equity, working with several founders and startups, and all this is baked into one ESOP plan document that is going to benefit hundreds of startups.
Varun Khaitan from Urban Company will also be joining us in a few seconds. I'll just ask my director and my producer if he's already connected. Okay, he's still not with us. So Sanjay, I also said that, you guys are pioneering this with the idea, of course, to bring in more maturity into the system, make it more transparent. As of now, and before this product goes live and maybe others also follow the same model, as of now, when you have ESOPs and all of that, can you tell us a little bit about, the young employees or even those who might be older joining startups who may not know everything about ESOPs? What is it that they must insist their agreement with the employer have? Something that will protect their interests going forward.
Yes. So it definitely, there is a lot of lack of knowledge among the employees when they look at and sign the ESOP terms, right? And employees need to be aware and cognizant of different terms. Some of them we'll talk about in more detail, but at a high level, what is my vesting schedule? What is my exercise price, right? If I leave the company, then, how long do I have to exercise? If what is the exercise tax in India, right? So a lot of these things employee need to know and learn about. We have documented a lot of these details on our website, mystartupequity.com. Also, I will tell employees that when they sign these grant letters, make sure that you keep a copy of it, right? Not just the grant letter, but also the ESOP plan document, which we have open sourced. A copy of such a ESOP plan document will help the employees to reference later on various clauses and legal terms that govern the entire ESOP grant to the employee. So keep all that handy with you so that, later on, if you need to go back and check on various terms and conditions, you can do that and ensure that, your ESOP grant, and when you need to exercise, you have everything in place.
Varun, the co-founder of Urban Company, also with us. Varun, it's always a pleasure talking to you. Hi, it's Nayantara. We're calling this a masterclass of sorts on ESOPs. A lot of people who join startups don't really know how this instrument works, and that's something that you're hoping to correct in partnership with LetsVenture, with My Startup Equity. The idea being, okay, Urban Company is doing it. Urban Company, which has often been credited as one of the best startups to work at in India. I remember the recent accolade you got from LinkedIn. But that is the entire idea. Once this entire ecosystem matures, it's in everybody's interest.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me today here, Nayantara. Extremely important topic of discussion given our young Indian startup ecosystem. We are yet to see a lot of successful large companies and wealth creation happening for employees, unlike mature ecosystems in the West, in the Silicon Valley. So that's why when we started our company in 2014, we started with the principle that as we become successful, if we become successful, then all the people who have been part of the mission and have taken risks, real career risks, to join us should benefit. If we win, we should win together, and everyone should end up looking back at this as the best financial decision that they took, apart from being a very satisfying and a great learning experience. So as we went through that exercise, we took a lot of employee first decisions around giving more ESOPs, giving ESOPs more often, giving ESOPs to almost everybody in the company, and then a bunch of very important conditions on ESOPs around vesting period, strike price, the exercise period. All of these we kept as employee first philosophies. But when we looked around, we realized there was a lot of gap in understanding of these terminologies of what is a good ESOP policy, and very large fraction of companies knowingly or unknowingly not ending up making best choices. That's when the need and the power to create more awareness in the form of a blueprint appeared. And very glad to partner with LetsVenture and My Startup Equity to both put out a blueprint and just have more awareness and conversation about how should we start writing.
I get the awareness. I get the awareness. Varun, I take your point about the awareness. I take your point about the awareness. And if you talk to the deans of the IITs and the IIMs and the dreams of the batch of 2020, the batch of 2019, the batch of 2018, it wasn't to go with the regular big tech companies. A lot of the top performers from all of these top engineering and business schools have decided to go in for startups. So it's a very important conversation we need to have. What your compensation must look like when ESOPs are such a big part of it. And Varun, that brings me to the second question I want to ask you. 2021 could perhaps be the year of the big Indian startup IPOs. Now, those who are holding ESOPs are holding, in many cases, gold, silver, and platinum. How can they best utilize that, whether it is pre-IPO or during the IPO? Isn't that something else that all you founders need to be talking about?
I think what IPOs will do they will end up creating real wealth, a large amount of it, and for a large number of employees. Really, what happens in an IPO is the ESOP that you've been holding for many years, for the first time, let me not say for the first time, but in a very real part becomes liquid. And you have, it converts from ESOPs, which are options, to real shares. And you have really a market that you can use to liquidate. So I think more than anything else, multiple IPOs happening in the next year or two will make the ecosystem mature about the value of ESOP. That this is not paper, this is not work of art. It's real money, real wealth creation, and look how many people have benefited from each IPO story. That will encourage many more individuals to move from traditional paths to startups. That there is a risk reward equation, but the risk is worth it so much more. And I think what it will also do is it will make employees discuss compensation and the balance between cash and ESOP in many more real terms. And I'll tell you from our own example, we've done 3 ESOP liquidation events so far, and I've helped employees generate real cash of close to 50 crores. We did that because, back in 2014, there was still a lot of skepticism around whether this is real cash and I can trade off my salary against it, or should I consider it as a bonus? Aage or above my salary, if I make more from it, great. Otherwise, great. So we changed that conversation within the company by creating liquidation events. And IPOs are, liquidation events at scale. So I don't think people need to worry what will happen pre-IPO or just IPO or when I should sell. Automatically, as IPOs happen, wealth creation will happen, and our ecosystem will get more mature.
Okay, so with that, both Varun and Sanjay, I'd like to thank you for joining us on this edition of Startup Central. We're doing our bit in whatever it is we can to try and educate all those working at startups to know more about your compensation structure, know about why your ESOPs are valuable and what's the best way for you to utilize your ESOPs. So remember that advice that also came in from Sanjay. Make sure your paperwork is always in order and always with you. Thanks a lot, guys. With that, we're going to take a short commercial break, but stay tuned. Coming up on the other side, MobiKwik battling a crisis of sorts with reports suggesting 3.5 million users' information is on the dark web. We're also going to be talking about Nazara's blockbuster IPO. Stay tuned.